Somewhere in Greece, far beyond the bustling cities and shining temples, there lived a creature hidden in the folds of the world. Sailors spoke of her in hushed tones, soldiers looked away when her name was mentioned, and even the boldest bards hesitated to describe her. She was the terror of the night, the boundary between life and stone. A monster to some, a warning from the gods to others. Her name was Medusa, but she had not always been a terrifying creature. Long before her gaze could turn anyone to stone, Medusa had been a young woman with a gentle smile and bright, expressive eyes. Born of Phorcys and Ceto, two ancient deities born from the primordial sea, she grew up alongside her sisters, Stheno and Euryale. They were called Gorgons, but contrary to what later legends would claim, Medusa was not a monster. As a child, she already stood out for her natural grace. Her black hair reflected the light like waves at sunset, and every movement she made seemed to radiate calm. Very early, she became devoted to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and dreamed of one day joining her temple as a priestess. For her, it was not an obligation, but a calling, to serve a deity she deeply admired. While her sisters played at being monsters, Medusa pretended to be a heroine. She never imagined that fate would one day transform her into the very creature she feared becoming. As she grew, her beauty became legendary. But it was not just her appearance that captivated people, it was her kindness. At Athena's temple, worshippers came not only to pray, but also to witness the priestess, whose presence seemed to soothe souls one day. A traveler whispered with awe but no malice, "Her hair rivals Athena's own." These words, carried by admiration, reached the heights of Olympus. Athena, usually wise and measured, felt a pang of jealousy. Mortals came to the temple, not for her, but for a human. Yet the goddess did nothing. She knew Medusa was not responsible for the attention she drew. She saw in her an exemplary priestess, pure, disciplined, devoted. But someone else was watching. Someone whose wrath toward Athena smoldered like a volcano. Poseidon, lord of the seas, held a deep grudge against the goddess. They had once quarreled over the city of Athens, and Athena had won. Since then, Poseidon waited for the perfect moment to take revenge. When he saw Athena's attention focused on Medusa, he realized this young woman would be the instrument of his vengeance. One evening, Medusa walked alone along the shore, breathing in the salt air. She heard her name carried by the wind. The waves parted gently, and Poseidon rose from the ocean, majestic, radiant, imposing. Medusa instinctively looked away, respectful but afraid. Poseidon approached, spoke, insisted. He mocked her vows, her purity, her devotion. For him, mortal promises held no meaning. What happened next is blurred in the myths, seduction or violence. But one truth remains. Medusa did not want it, and Athena's temple was defiled. When the goddess discovered the offense, her anger was immense. Her temple defiled by her rival and by a mortal she had protected. Instead of striking Poseidon, she turned her rage on Medusa. Was it anger, jealousy, or the sting of humiliation? No one can say. Athena appeared before Medusa like a flash of lightning. The young woman fell, begging for mercy. She had never wished to betray her goddess. She had only tried to survive. But Athena did not listen. She transformed her beauty into horror. Her hair became living, hissing, venomous snakes. Her skin hardened like stone. Her gaze became a weapon. "Whoever meets your eyes will turn to stone," said the goddess. "Let your beauty cause no more ruin." Medusa fell to her knees. Her scream was lost among the mountains. That day, it was not a monster that was born, but a tragedy. Fleeing from mortals, Medusa exiled herself to a desolate region, far from civilization. The few travelers who dared approach her lair never returned, frozen in terror with fear still etched on their faces. As years passed, Medusa changed, not because she became more monstrous, but because she slowly lost her sense of humanity. She spoke to rocks, to snakes, to shadows. She forgot the sound of a human voice, the scent of flowers, the warmth of sunlight. Her true punishment was not her appearance. It was her solitude. She wandered the mountains, moving silently like a shadow across the jagged terrain. The wind seemed to carry whispers of the past, echoes of her childhood, of laughter, of friendship, and of a life stolen by the whims of gods. She would sit by rivers and seas that reminded her of her parents, Phorcys and Ceto, and the vastness of the ocean that gave life yet had now carried pain. Meanwhile, on the island of Seriphos, a young man named Perseus was growing up far from this tragedy. Brave, humble, and fiercely loyal to his mother Danae, he quickly attracted the wrath of Polydectes, a cruel king who coveted Danae and saw her son as an obstacle. At a banquet, Perseus offered a gift to the king. Polydectes seized the opportunity to humiliate him. "If you truly wish to honor me, bring me the head of Medusa." The hall erupted in laughter. Such a quest was a death sentence. But Perseus accepted, not out of pride, but out of filial love. His courage touched the gods. Hermes gave him an unbreakable sword, Athena, a mirror shield, the only way to face Medusa safely. Hades, a helmet of invisibility, and the nymphs, winged sandals. Armed, Perseus began his journey. He did not yet know that behind Medusa's name lay a story far more painful than the legend of a monster. After a long journey, he finally reached the land of the Gorgons. Silence weighed heavily there. The ground was littered with frozen statues, witnesses of men who had come before him and never returned. Perseus looked on in horror, but also with a strange compassion. He understood that these statues were not Medusa's trophies, but the tragic consequences of a cruel curse. Medusa's sisters, Stheno and Euryale, guarded her. They whispered her name, mourned her suffering, and sensed the coming of the end. They were not bloodthirsty monsters, but desperate protectors. Using Hades' helmet, Perseus slipped past them, his heart heavy. At the heart of the cave, he found Medusa asleep. The snakes in her hair swayed gently. In her sleep, she appeared almost peaceful, almost human. Through his mirror shield, Perseus saw something he would never forget, the pain of a woman broken by the gods. He hesitated. Then, remembering his mission, his mother, his duty, he did what was expected. With a swift motion, he severed Medusa's head. She had no time to scream. Her snakes writhed violently before collapsing. From her blood sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chryser, the golden warrior. They shone like stars for a moment before flying toward their destinies. Stheno and Euryale's screams shook the cave, a mix of grief, rage, and lost love. They charged after Perseus, smashing walls, toppling columns, cursing the gods. Invisible, Perseus flew out of the cave, his heart heavy. He felt no triumph, only guilt. Back on Seriphos, he found Polydectes, ready to harm his mother. The tyrant laughed at Perseus's return, certain he had failed. Perseus revealed Medusa's head. Even in death, her gaze turned life into stone. Polydectes and his men were petrified forever. Their frozen expressions told the story of the end of their tyranny. Understanding the danger the head represented, Perseus gave it to Athena. The goddess placed it on her aegis, not to glorify Medusa, but perhaps to remind herself of the suffering she had caused. Men remembered only the image of a monster. But through the centuries, a truth whispers. Medusa was never born to terrify the world. She was a woman broken by the gods, transformed into a symbol, and used as a weapon. Her story is that of beauty punished, faith betrayed, a life shattered. A tragedy where even death could not erase injustice. And at the heart of this legend, one truth remains. Medusa was never a monster. She was only treated as one. Even now, when the wind whispers through deserted ruins or over jagged cliffs, some say you can hear her sorrow echoing. A reminder that the greatest monsters are not always those who look terrifying, but those forced into it by fate.